anyway, based on your own experiences. But we figure if you're helping us, like it could be a way that we could send you guys out to some dinners. Some people I spoke with, they're like, I could use this to pay for all of my coaching. So everyone has a different idea when it comes to this. So those are some of the things we have coming up. So yesterday I did a very interactive hands-on session with ChatGPT. So today we're going to do a hands-on session because when it comes to writing offers, what I find is I can teach people to do things, then I can give people a template, but yet they're still confused on how to use it. Raise your hand as if that's ever happened to you, right? So what I want to do is walk you through the psychology, the science, the actual template, what you're putting in the template, why you're putting it in the template, how it works, right? So look, we live in a world today where we constantly are going to have to justify what am I doing in exchange for the large sum of money I'm being paid for, correct? Like if I came to you and I told you my services cost $25,000, what are you going to say? Most of you would say goodbye, right? So we'll use this as context. There's 3 different sessions a week you can come to, 3 different accountability sessions. There's quarterly events that you have access to, an amazing community of people, an entire back end that has over 600 pieces of content. There also is an AI search to find the content. And yet many of you would think about this decision that's $10 a day, like 15 different times, right? And still not everyone's here. So what does that tell you? People have decision fatigue when it comes to making financial decisions. So now when you tell somebody your service that is a finite service, which in some cases of buying a house could take a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, right? They're like, that's a lot of money. So what we want to understand is making an offer and positioning yourself as an expert and someone that has a strategy is one of the most important things now that you can do. It is a part that I find people glance over in their buyer presentation. It's a place that I find during process, people don't talk about nearly enough. You know how many times I've seen agents that have sent messages that are like, hey, here's my client's offer, literally in text message, text. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm like, this is not an offer. You could send it to me in email and writing and all this stuff. They're like, why do I have to do that? I'm like, well, why is somebody paying you money? Like, this is a joke. So the bar of competition here is not that high, right? The second part to it is integrity and mutual respect, right? You need to have your own integrity and mutual respect that somebody's making the largest financial decision of their life, and that deserves its own separate conversation, not having a conversation just when they want you to sign their buyer's consultation. So you can bring things up like, and Susan, this is a good script for us here to share. We find in our experience that many times that the biggest conversation that an agent and their clients have is when they initially decide to work together. And what we believe in is there's multiple large conversations, right? And one of the biggest ones we're going to have is when you decide that a house you see wants to become to your home. Can I explain? And they're going to say yes. There's many different facets in the offer you decide to make and winning a home in this market. How we package, position, and promote your offer is one of the most important ones. How we share the market together so you have a clear understanding of what sellers are willing to accept for their home and other buyers are willing to pay for homes, and how we use that data strategically so you feel that you're in the right opportunity. Would you like to know in detail how we do that? Who's going to say no to that? Anybody? Is that an undisputable statement? 100%. Thank God these things are recorded on the side note, right? So if you think about it, an offer is a huge monumental point in the transaction. Do you know what else the next huge thing is that we're not going to talk about today, but it's something when they go into contract and their experience of moving contract to close, because that's the last thing they remember about you. Right. And it's kind of like, all right, yeah, my agent was really present when I needed to sign an agreement, paying money. My agent was pretty present when I had to make an offer to get a house so they can get paid the money. But now we have an agreement and we found the house, not really hear from my agent. Not great customer service, right? The real sale starts after somebody hires you. So let's talk about what goes into an effective offer, right? So Jessica wants to make an offer on a property. I'm going to say, great. Jessica, I'm going to marry you off. I know you're single, but that's okay. Jessica and her husband are going to come in. I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, would it be okay, since this is a really large financial decision, if we could set up a meeting, let me know if you prefer Zoom or in person, so that we can do two major things. Can I share them with you? Yes. Number one, how we can share the market so then we can effectively package, position, and promote your offer to the seller in a way that feels good for you and that puts you in a position that you could win the home you want. Right? Remember, communication without context, there's the frame. Cherish, is somebody saying no to that? Maybe yes, maybe no. What do you think? No. Okay. So that's how you start these conversations. Because there's good context to that, right? This isn't about me. This is about you. You notice how I said share the market? You know how in the beginning we seeded it, like how we use the information of what other buyers are willing to pay for homes and what sellers are willing to accept for their homes, meaning I have nothing to do with it. There's a lot of thoughtful words in here. Now, let's go to making an offer, and then we're going to spend the rest of our time on the template and Q&A. Do you know what the worst form of negotiation is? Anybody?
One you
Does
don't
anyone
know.
know? Just unmute yourself and share. This is an opinion, feelings-based question. So whatever you say is not right or wrong. No one has any idea. Mai,
Me?
you're unmuted.
Me? May?
May, sorry.
Okay. Negotiating against yourself?
Okay, that is a really bad form of negotiation. Anybody else? Josh Wright, what do you got, dude? You're a smart guy. What's the worst form of negotiation?
Overselling and pushing.
Overselling and pushing, right?
Not writing an offer at all.
Not writing an offer at all. All right, now you guys are starting to flow, right? It's like you guys are like a new construction development. No one wants to buy the first house.
Chirag, how about putting in or like having negotiating an offer without it in writing? So like send over and just negotiating over the phone versus it actually being a written offer.
Written offer being attached to an outcome, right? These are all very valid points. Now, the worst form of negotiation is called positional bartering. Does anyone know what that is?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce this concept to you. Showing all your cards up front. Yep. Whoever says first loses. So if you think about it, positional bartering is taking a fixed position on something. Now, for the majority of people here in America, is their home, right? Yes or no in the chat, something they're very attached to?
Yes.
100%, right? So when you go to somebody and you tell them, you know what? Today is March 4th. I want to offer you $1.25 million for your home with 10% down, a 45-day closing with a mortgage contingency and an inspection contingency. And by the way, here's a letter from a stranger that you've never met or don't know anything about. And I don't tell you anything about my finances, and just trust them I have money to buy the house. Now, imagine you're selling your house. So this is what you think about my home. Like, look, I'm going to start saying this. Please, before the chat blows up with this and you like get overly focused on this, Every state has different local regulations and state regulations about writing letters to sellers. The fact that you can't write a letter, in my personal opinion, is the stupidest thing in the entire world. Some of these laws that they have are from like the 1950s and they should change. So just ask your manager first before doing this. That is my legal disclaimer, right? Now, here's the other part. If you take a fixed position in a home, think about how many times you've met a client that you've been working with that's a seller, and a buyer gives them a really low offer. They emotionally react, they don't respond. And by the time the buyer gets to the number that they actually want, they're like, I don't want to sell this person my house. Don't tell them they need more. Because there's emotionals, right? And that is what the real catastrophe of positional bartering is, right? So one, we want to show somebody we're an expert, right? Two, we want to show the seller that we understand their house, their needs, honor them, make them feel good. And number three, it goes to the phrase like, what makes somebody an expert? Knowing one more thing than the other. What makes your offer more attractive? Providing more details than the other. So if every offer has just that one-page positional barter with a pre-approval letter from a stranger, the questions your sellers ask you is like, what's their credit score? Do they have enough funds, right? Like, where do they work? Like, how long have they worked there? Can they really get the mortgage? Those are all normal questions that none of these offers address. Right? So now let me pull up the template and let's walk through it. So you're going to call the other realtor, right? Here's the script. I'm going to say, who's going to be my other realtor? Sarah Weaver. Always ready? You're going to be the other realtor. Like, hey, Sarah.
Hi, Chirag.
I love that she knows just to play along. Hey, I was calling about your property, 123 Main Street. Do you have a couple minutes?
I do.
So I have clients that are interested in the home and, just put my cards out there. Feel that it's a collaboration. I understand your goal is obviously to get your client the best price and terms. My job is to get my client the home. So I feel like we have a mutual interest in working together. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So first thing you want to know, you're going to see if they're a partner. They're going to say, well, just make an offer and like, I'll present it to my client. Then you know what this person is. So you're going to say, look, obviously I know that your client's interested in the highest and best price. Are there any terms or things that are important to them outside of, not outside, on top of the number that's presented to them?
Yes, they would love a 30-day close. They've expressed that to me, and a 7-day inspection period to not tie it up in being off market that long.
30 days, 7-day inspection period. Are there any other details of their transition or things in the home that are important to them?
Nope, there's not. They've already identified where they're going. So according to them, there's no emotional attachment left to the property.
Perfect. And the last thing is, because I want to make sure to tell my clients the right thing. When they say they know where they're going, my clients actually be really flexible. If they need them to move faster, they'll move faster. If they need them to kind of hold and wait till they hit a button to finish the rest of the closing process, they can do that too. If they need a rent back, just so they don't have to move all in one day. Or would any of those things work for your client, or they have everything all figured out and they're just good to go?
They've had everything figured out. I actually went through kind of their expectations on the front end in case we did get an offer right away. What would be most ideal to them, just in case, again, an agent was savvy enough to call and ask these questions. So 30 days and 7 days would be great.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to my clients and then hopefully we'll be sending you an offer.
Thank you.
Right. So how does this lead to the offer? Oh, wait, where'd all my... I lost all your windows. I like seeing everybody. They have this whole show meeting feature. So look, you notice I called her up. Thank you for allowing my clients to present our offer and answering all of our questions. There's one key word in there. Write in the chat what that word is. It's not a riddle, it's a question. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's like 15 words. Bingo, allowing. Sarah, when you hear the word allowing, what does that make you feel?
That you've listened.
Does it make you feel like you're in control?
Yes.
Bingo, right? Agents have type A personalities. Everyone wants to be in control. My clients understand that your clients want, who doesn't want a smooth and easy closing? Buyers with excellent financials, reasonable market price, and nothing to sell. Is there anything else people want, right? And in this, you could also put the bullet points, right, of a 30-day closing and a 7-day inspection period, right? So it's like upfront, right? I would like to introduce the name of my buyers. Mr. and Mrs. Jessica. Remember, you're the buyer, right? So I would put their names in here and I would say Jessica has been a successful broker at Compass for 10 years with an average income of $400,000, right? Mr. Jessica works at Goldman Sachs and makes $650,000 a year and has worked there 18 years. They've been pre-approved by blank and blank bank, and Jessica has a credit score of 760, and Mr. Jessica has a credit score of 755. Now, let me ask you a question. For Mr. and Mrs. Jessica, the fact just on its own that they know their names, their jobs, where they work, their credit scores, as well as who they've been pre-approved by, is that already more information than you get on 90% of your offers? 100%. House money. I like this stuff because this is actually what I used as an agent. This thing has like a 90% success rate, especially in multiple offers. You can write a personal letter. So I leave this dog in here to share this story. We have these financial planners that my family had worked with for years, right? And according to my dad, if it wasn't for Pradeep, we would not have had our college pays. He would not know anything about money. The guy literally is another Indian guy, cold called my dad in the beginning of his career. Now he's literally him and his son, they're in the Ameriprise Hall of Fame, and they're in the top 1% of financial planners in the entire company, in the entire world, right? And so this was the second time that his dad called me. He never calls me, the son. Shiva, the dad calls me. You need to find my son a home. He needs to do this. The first home that we went to, it had an accepted offer that the agent never told me until we went there on a Thursday afternoon. The agent proceeded to tell me that the contract was going to be signed on Saturday. I figured out a way to get the house. He's like, you need to get my son the house. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm like, okay, sir, I'll do what I need to do. Right. So I got them the house. Then this was during COVID, right? Him and his wife wanted to have a kid. They wanted to move to the house. The dad really wanted a grandkid. Needless to say, you really need to get my son a house. So we went to this house and it was like in Terrytown in Westchester, right? And people in the suburbs were moving. I mean, people from the city were moving to the suburbs in droves, right? There was like 7 different people interested in this house. And he's like, I'm not going into a bidding war. Can you figure this out for me? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, right? So I'll show you what I did. But I used this template and I won. And there were no multiple offers, none, right? So we knew that they had a dog. I asked the questions. I found out that they were moving and they're stressed out about it. They had kids and everything else. So we put all this stuff in. So it's like, you're like me, right? And so it works, right? People like themselves. And I find the majority of people want to sell a home to somebody they feel good to. The home I live in now, the person chose me over another deal that was way more similar because it was like a corporate reload because of my Instagram profile and who I was. That was the deciding factor for them, right? They're like, we want to take a chance. You're a great person. So don't ever underestimate how these little details can show up. So watch this. Now, number one, you have to put this in a PDF. You're going to have to learn how to do this in a way that people can't change it. I remember one time I used to send this stuff in documents. An attorney I became great friends with. It was the only deal I've ever lost in my career through speed. And clearly still 10 plus years later, I remember it. The agent only presented one of the sheets because I eventually met the attorney who did all the negotiations for the client. I'm like, well, this is really shitty. Most people don't know how to organize the thing and split it apart. So like, there's also, I imagine, ways you can lock it, but that's something you all can figure out. Myself, Susan, and Laura do not know. So notice this, and this is the actual offer that I wrote, like it's still in here. 1.35 million, $50,000 above asking. You notice how I highlighted that? 20% down, right? $270,000 at the contract signing. They're putting the entire deposit down, not 10% of contract, 10% of closing, right? Now, check this out. I added this in here. Buyers understand sellers are making a move with their family and can accommodate their ideal time frame. Buyers don't want sellers to feel rushed or pressured during the process of moving. Buyers can perform quickly if that's what's best for the seller, or they can have everything completed and ready to close when sellers are ready, right? Now, the next thing goes back to this. Remember during COVID, like so many people were getting laid off that when you had an offer with a mortgage, everyone was freaked out about the job being eliminated, right? We still wanted a mortgage contingency because we needed the house to appraise for him to feel good about it. So I said an inspection, and then I said a mortgage contingency not based on continued employment. Meaning if I lose my mortgage because I lose my job, it doesn't count, right? That was a really big term in there, especially during the times. The next one, buyer will include a 70% mortgage contingency to make the offer stronger. Meaning in layman's terms, if they will put the other 10% down if necessary. Do you see how I'm spelling out every detail for the agent and the client? I am not assuming the agent's going to know how to present this correctly. And if they're going to help the clients buy a house, or have helped the client buy the house, they're going to be like, shoot, man, I don't do this. Like, this isn't good. So notice this, by removing continued employment as part of the mortgage contingency, the only requirement is a satisfactory appraisal from the bank. Feel free to contact the lender with any questions if you'd like. Remember the letter from a stranger? It called up the agent. You can call the lender. You can ask him anything you want. DTIs, income, ranges of reserves. We sent proof of funds with this offer, right? Because the guy had a lot of money. Now, check this out. This is where the money was. Dear Chris, this was the actual listing broker. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of our questions and providing us with all the information necessary to make an offer. Highlighted everything again. The buyers thought through every detail that would make the seller's transition easier, from the down payment amount, 20% of contract, mortgage contingency 70%, the security of not adding in continuous employment as part of the mortgage contingency, and an offer amount $50,000 above asking. Do you notice subconsciously we're reprogramming all the benefits of our offer, right? These all reflect their love for the home and the seriousness in providing a simple and stress-free transaction for all parties involved. Now watch this. Based on this, their offer is contingent upon not going into a highest and best situation. They feel they have presented, and by the way, I hate these words, and I hope to never say them again in my life, presented terms that would make any seller secure during these challenging times. Can we all agree we don't want to ever hear those words again? We hope to have the opportunity to work with you and see this through to the end. We all view this as a collaboration. And if there's any questions, concerns, or requests, we have an open line of communication. The buyers have spoken to their lender, and feel free to contact them with any questions. They have a combined income of $450,000+ in adequate cash reserves, and will have no issues on closing on the home. Look forward to hearing from you. Do you see all the little nuances and details here? And this is what an offer looks like. Do you feel that you have room for improvement in your current offers? Who's going to use this tomorrow? Now you can redact the names, right? And then when you're on your buyer consultation, hey, can I share with you the difference of a regular offer and a strategic offer? You can go back to your old offer, right? And then you can show them your new offer. Or you could black out all the names and show a vague offer that you got on one of your listings. You could leave their other company logo there just for, entertainment purposes only. Oops, I forgot that. That's what they do over there at Keller Williams and Sotheby's, right? So look, the psychology of this, actually, let me share my screen again, is you make the call. You make the other person feel like in control. right? If they're reading this on the phone, all the bullet points show. You identify, okay, great. Like they're going to read this, like this is what's in it for me. Yeah, I want all these things. Great. I'm going to meet these people. Wow, I know a lot about them. Like I feel comfortable with Mr. and Mrs. Jessica, right? Like they can afford my house. They have great financials. I know the companies they work for. They're really stable. They're actually doing really good in this environment. And then there's a letter if you're legally allowed to do so. Wow, they're going to give me 50,000. You notice where your eyes drawn above? Wow, they're giving me $50,000 and going to give me the whole thing, right? And then the inspection, the mortgage, the other things are bold. Like, wow, these are all the things that I want. And then I write the letter to the agent, right? And if they're not smart enough to be an Adobe wizard, which most people are, the clients are going to see the letter to the agent, which adds another element of reinforcing and presenting your offer for you. So I'm proud to say that I feel that I've really thought out all of the details in this for you. So let's open it up to Q&A and a couple things. If you would like to join a great accountability group, role playing plus networking, check out Martha's group on Fridays, right? And I know it's a Friday, but if you plan your schedule in advance, you'll be very happy, right? So there's some of you that go to Cherish's group after, those who go to Martha's group, they're both great options, right? So if you think about this, this is something very easily for you to use right away, right? So I have one more minute before I start cutting in and being disrespectful into Cherish's accountability time. She's like, yes. So does anyone have any questions? We could take 2 questions.
Yeah, I have a
Josh.
bunch, Rod. I used to write up offers very similar to this back when it was in multiple offers, but then I've stopped now that it's been on the house has been on the market for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then we present it, and I haven't gone into this amount of detail. Is there anything psychology-wise that you would say has shifted from a multiple offer situation like the 50,000 above to where now going into making an offer and say you're coming in low and like even some of the pieces of information I would even avoid, like if they have a lower credit score, is there anything that you would shift from multiple offer market to a slower moving market like the one that we're in Nashville
Well,
right
you
now?
want to, well, look, you want to position your clients with the things that put them in a position to win, right? So if they have bad credit scores, focus on their job security and their income, right? Like if you feel that your offer is low, right? Like you're going sometimes low, but a lot of times the houses are priced high and your offer is also based on market. Keep yourself unmuted for a second, right? How many people have like an offer that they write that's in alignment with what the comps are, but the seller's aspirational?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So in that, I would attach the 3 comps, and in the agent letter, you're going to say, these are the comps that my clients use to base the offer on. If you have other comparable homes in the same neighborhood in similar condition that they should factor into their price, please send them to me, and I'm happy to share that data with them as well. So then the seller's gonna be like, oh, Jesus, like, yeah, what comps are we based on? Oh, these are like, it sets the stage really well where you're not trying to steamroll somebody over, right?
Right.
Yep,
That's helpful. Thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else? One more.
I just want to say I love that. That's fantastic. Really good. Because sometimes I think agents aren't good at it, explaining things to their buyers. So maybe you have to do it on their behalf,
I don't trust anybody to explain anything because, like, look, 73% of people didn't even sell a home last year, right? So, like, what does that tell you? You're not dealing in many cases with like the most qualified people, right? And like this is doing right for you, and it's not being disrespectful to the other person. They have to present by law any and all offers with all of the details. And if you really want to be difficult and you want to get into the weeds of the code of ethics, I have a right to be present when you make the offer. If not, you have to ask your clients and provide me in writing that they have signed off that they don't want me in their home or on the call. So that's just random real estate stuff. So everyone go to the accountability group, right? Go do the work, fill in these offers, get more listings, get more deals, earn more money, and then tell us about it. All right, everybody. Love my heart. Love you all. I'll see you all later. Bye, everybody.